What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel and welcome to Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition. So, Sunless Skies is a game that I've been looking forward to for many years now. It was originally put on Steam, early access in 2017, 2018. Um, it's made by the same people that did Sunless Seas. Now, I originally played that on the channel as well. That and the Submariner edition of that, which, if you have not tried it out and you like narrative-based games, I highly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. But anyway, I've been waiting for Sunless Skies to get the Sovereign edition, which would have been the console edition, to come out for a long time now, to say the least. It was originally supposed to come out, I believe, last year, 2020, but it was then pushed, obviously, due to events that had transpired in that year. But here we are. It is now May 15th when I'm recording this. This will go live on the 19th because that is when the embargo date is. But this is Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition, and if that introduction didn't make it obvious enough, I'd like to thank the developers at FAILBETTER Games for giving me the opportunity to play this early, so that way I could get you guys some content as soon as possible. But anyway, with the introduction all out of the way, let's start a new game. I played maybe, I don't know, a couple hours yesterday just to get my head around the controls and whatnot. But yeah, let's go ahead and do this. I will be playing a legacy campaign with most things on the standard where the developers intended them to be, so that includes the supply consumption as well. If there was anything I was going to change, it would have been supply consumption, just so you know you're not as reliant on it. But that is the point. This is also a resource management game, in addition to survival, horror, action, suspense, mystery, narrative. There's a lot of different genres that this can fit into, and yeah, there's gonna be a lot of talking, by the way, if that wasn't entirely, obvious. Log of Her Majesty's locomotive, the Orpheon, March 14th, 1905. Our expedition to the domains of the dead has been eventful. The Orpheon is damaged and in grievous need of repairs and supplies. We are returning in haste to the Reach, where I hope to make port at New Winchester. May God be with us, for 1,000 deaths wait in the sky. Now then, with that cacophony of rather rapturous metal is done, we can go ahead and continue. So X to thrust. It's got tank-style controls, so holding right on the not the D-pad, holding right on the analog stick spins us clockwise. Likewise, left on the D-pad spins us counterclockwise. That'll always be it is. So you will always move forward in the direction you are facing. We've got dodges, which do consume fuel, by the way. You get your left dodge, which is your L1, your right dodge, which is your R1. Those will always do that. As you can see, there is impact damage, so you do have to be careful. So, that was obviously just to show you guys. A couple things that they added. I think this is the funniest thing that the devs added. So, okay. Before this game actually released, and there were beta testers and whatnot, the devs, one of the number one things that was asked of the devs was, I'll pause here so we don't lose our supplies, but was that a horn button was put into place, because obviously what's a locomotive without a horn? The devs capitulated, and they decided, you know what? If this is what the people want, this is what the people will get, so we have a horn. It's never told, I don't think, in the tutorial or anything, but that's L3 if you didn't know what it was. So we can sit here and lay on our horn if we so choose. Okay, now, this screen with all the words and the text. This is a lot of what the game is. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of... It's basically a book with little sections in between where I shoot stuff and move around. So, if that's not your thing, then good day to you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I love you. Take care. Because that's what this game is. It's reading. Anyway, let's get into this. The wreck hangs in the sky, pocked with recent gunfire. You and the boarding party don your sky suits, garments of waxed canvas lined with felt to protect against the cold of the sky. Two of the crew are whispering as they dress. What business did Captain Whitlock have in the Blue Kingdom anyway? Why the devil did we trespass on the districts of the dead? You silence him. Now's not the time. Leap across to the wreck. The gap between the two engines isn't wide, but the endless fathoms of heaven gape beneath it. Leading the way. You jump. Your stomach lurches with vertigo as the stars blaze above you and below. The air of the heavens is thin and torn by unpredictable winds. Then your boots hit the running board of the Ozymandias, and your leather-gloved hands fumble for a hold. One of your companions throws you a line, and you lash the two engines together. Only then do the rest of the boarding party follow you. One of them forces open an exterior hatch, and you clamber inside. Her interior is cold, unlit, and whistles with wind. Your party's lamps spread buttery light over the narrow, paneled passages. You make your way toward the hold, stepping over bodies crumpled in the corridor. Unfortunately, your way is blocked. A bulkhead has been mangled inward by a well-aimed barrage. So we've got a couple choices here. It's all dependent on rolls for your stats. You've got your irons, you've got your veils, you've got your mirrors, you've got your hearts, and they all lead to various things in-game. If this is anything like Sunless Sea, which I believe it is, they also give you bonuses outside of, dialogue and stuff like that. So irons would make it so your weapons were more effective, and things like that. Heart was, I think it led to your whole integrity or something like that. Either way, I think I'm going to go with an irons character with maybe a secondary emphasis on, I don't know, either veils or mirrors. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get into that in the character creator. But anyway, we can clear the obstruction away or lead the party on a more precarious path. Let's try lead your party on a more precarious path. Go back out onto the Ozymandias' hull, climb past the blockage, and enter through a window on the far side, and do so carefully. Success. The first time I tried this yesterday, I failed, actually. So you can fail these. The game isn't giving you any gimmies here. A memory. The rest of the boarding party follow you without enthusiasm. You recall the first time you climbed outside an engine, helping the captain fix a leak in an exterior pipe. The wind had shrieked, buffeting at you. You asked the captain what would happen if you slipped. You fall, she answered tersely. But where to, you asked? She looked down, then up, then back. The sky's depth spiraled all about you. Away, she said, and you heard her fear. Back in the present, you tumble back into the Ozymandias through a shattered window, your party spill in after you, glad to be back inside. You have reached the Ozymandias' hold, a ruin of smashed cargo and spilled supplies. Hopefully, somewhere amidst the detritus, you find parts to repair the Orphean and restock your stores. Conduct a thorough search. Your companions work quickly. The Ozymandias' hull has begun to creak. Your actions on board may have compromised its integrity. Renewed. You find enough food and gear to restock your supplies and enough spare parts to make necessary repairs to the Orphean. The food will need to be thoroughly thawed, of course, but you've eaten worse in the skies. "Oh-ho!" cries one of your party, prying the lid off a long crate. It holds a cannon, still nestled in straw. Another crewman pulls a battered birdcage from a pile of ruined cargo. Within the cage, something winged and furred opens a sullen eye. You examine your finds. So we got 4 supplies, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. We've gone from 1 supply to 5. You gain 15 hull, so now we're almost full. 30 hull is our starting. So, not too bad. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchanges nervous glances. From the chaos of its hold, you have retrieved repairs and supplies and discovered some useful equipment. A gun that could be mounted on your locomotive and an educated bat. We'll get to do both of these, we're not stuck doing one. Mount the Jerusalem cannon on the Orphean. Her own weapons were damaged during your flight from the Blue Kingdom. That leaves you vulnerable. Fire and Fury. The Cotterill and Hathersage Jerusalem fires single shells to a good range more or less accurately. You order 2 of your party to get it back to your vessel and fit it immediately. The Ozymandias groans again. The structure shudders spasmodically. Alright, not too bad. Okay, liberate a diffident bat and employ it as a scout. The heavens are wide, so locomotives use scouts, like bats, to locate things of interest. Ports, resources, wrecks, like this one, to scavenge. Eyes in the sky. The bat treats its rescue as an inconvenience, and immediately begins haggling over pay. You offer to put it back in its damn cage and leave it on the Ozymandias, at which point it becomes more polite. You doubt it will last. Alright, let's press on to the engine room. You might find more fuel there, but you had better hurry. The Ozymandias is beginning to tear apart. And this is not without risk, so let's continue on. Oh, we've got 2 less successful chances here. The wreck of the Ozymandias screeches as its metal buckles and tears. You press on through the shuddering corridors, searching frantically for the engine room. Yeah, I'm screeching for the engine room. Engine room, where are you? Send a smaller party ahead to retrieve fuel, or go yourself and conduct a hasty search. Let's send a smaller party ahead to retrieve fuel. And this probably has a risk of losing crew members, I would imagine, at the very least. Alright. It's foolish for all of you to go. Send your quickest and lightest to retrieve the fuel, while the rest of you return to the Orphean. So Hearts is a skill of convincing and enduring. Then likewise down here, Mirrors is a skill of investigating and deducing. We got a 50% chance either way. Cross your fingers, everybody. Ah, failure. The short straws. No one is keen to go on alone. In the end, you have to rely on drawing lots. The 2 members of the party with the shortest straws pale and make their cautious way towards the engine room. The rest of you return to the Orphean and await their return, and wait, and wait. Too late. With a dying groan, the Ozymandias buckles and splits in half, the 2 ends spiraling in different directions into the sky. The 2 crew that were still aboard are lost. Solemnly, you stoke your engines and steam away, restocked and rearmed, but fewer. Well, that sucks. Lost some crew. Let's press R3 to open our little menu here. Got a few different things. You can actually click R3 to view more stuff here. It'll give you more information about what stuff you've got. Inventory is particularly useful. This will tell us what we've got as far as our hold is concerned, our equipment, and also our prospects, which we will get into a little bit later, in addition to our possessions, which right now all we've got is 6 crew members. We used to have 8, but we don't anymore. So yeah. At your status, you can view various things. Things that will make more sense a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and see what they got here. Oh, yes, things and stuff and words. Got it. Let's continue. You can open your chart at any time by pressing the touchpad. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. There's a bunch of different regions that we can do, so this isn't the only map. And we can also send out our scout, which we will do. You can see the little bat run off there. Summoned by Captain Whitlock. The walls of the captain's cabin are lined with a hodgepodge of curios from across the sky. Captain Whitlock lies in bed. Black marks cover her skin like a monstrous brand. When she coughs, coils of acrid smoke pour from her lungs. Inquire after the captain's injuries or approach the bedside. Let's inquire after the captain's injuries. The locomotive's doctor attends her. His lips are tight. The brand. A word of living fire pursued the Orphean across the Blue Kingdom. It caught you just before you passed through the transit relay to the Reach, and set its brand upon the captain. It's burned itself right through her, the doctor whispers. When I closed the worst of her wounds, I could see the sign is seared into her bones and her organs. Judging from her symptoms, it's on the inside of her lungs, too. The captain leans to one side and vomits a plume of fire into a copper bowl. There is nothing the doctor can do. The walls of the captain's cabin are lined with a hodgepodge. Oh, I already read that. Okay. Approach the bedside. The captain opens her eyes as you draw near. She attempts to smile. Her mouth is blistered from the blue fires that dance on her tongue. Her hand grips your arm. Her skin is hot as a kettle. Made arrangements. The Orphean will be yours. Her voice is just a rasp of burned meat breath. But promise. She breaks off to scream a word in a language that is not made for human mouths. When she resumes speaking, she is weaker. Her request little more than a gasp. But promise me. One last service. Promise. Promise, make no promise, pull away, demand to know why she took the Orphean to the Blue Kingdom. Yeah, why the hell did we go to the Blue Kingdom, Captain? It was folly to visit one of the lands of the dead. Now you are all paying the price. She laughs, a sound like wood snapping on the fire. Ash sprays from her mouth. It was worth it, she swears. Her voice is suddenly firm, her eyes hard and bright. Then she sinks back into the scorched pillows and a twisting, frantic fever. Well, I guess we're done. Take our leave. You have an engine to command. Other business. You leave the cabin and the scorched stink of its air behind and return to the bridge. New Winchester is further than you'd like, and the captain hasn't long left. Alright. Well, our scout has returned and found... Well, I know what it is. It's New Winchester, but let's clear some of this way. As you can see, we do have a little heat gauge to contend with. A Marauder! You can kind of see whether an enemy's going to attack or not if you look at their gun and it shines. I'll turn off the light so you can see. You gonna shoot, bro? There it is. Okay, the Reach Marauder is defeated. You prepare to board the buckled wreckage, poised to plunder its plunderers, or the plunderers. Behind you, someone is humming a song of victory. You can almost always raid the remains or strip it for repairs. Kind of depends. Strip it for repairs, you can press square and see what exactly it'll do for you. Raid the remains. Marauders pillage homesteads and hunt travelers all across the Reach. Oh, excuse me. And they often carry stolen valuables, so let's raid the remains. Ill-gotten gains. Your boarding party returns with wallets and watches, cufflinks, lockets, and keepsakes. You store them in the safe to be pawned when, if, you make it back to port. We now have 36 sovereigns. Sovereigns are the main form of currency in this game. Oh, and if you were curious, there is a cruise control. There's 2 buttons for it. You can press down on the D-pad or square to enter cruise control. So that way you don't have to constantly press X. It's pretty neato. So this should be New Winchester. Oh, and something I should probably make mention now. Bottom left-hand corner, you see the blue on that little skull gauge. That actually leads perfectly into this next little bit. You have something in this game known as terror that you have to manage. In Sunless Sea, it led to various terrible events, not not just including, but not limited to cannibalism. You could turn on your crew could turn on you, could lead to game over sequences, all sorts of things. I would imagine it's very similar in this game, but a good way to avoid, or at least reduce the amount of terror you can gain, is to travel with your light on, which you can turn on and turn off with up on the D-pad. You can, I believe it uses more supplies and more fuel and all that, at least more fuel to run with that on, but yeah, you kind of have to weigh the odds, I suppose. Most of the time we're going to have our light on. Winchester, 512 experience gained. Very nice, very nice. Okay, arrival at New Winchester. And I apologize for any noise that happens in the background. My roommate is, of course, deciding to work out now. So, anyway. You coast into the bustle, the din, the soot, and the steam of Wolsey Station. It is clogged with other engines, scrappy mining locomotives from Lustrum Way, weathered explorers gleaming with frost, sleek company vessels with bright brass fittings. No sooner have you pulled into the sidings than a brusque station master bustles over. He requests to come aboard. I must speak with your captain, he insists, brandishing a ledger. The usual formalities. Look to the Orphean's doctor. He has just appeared at your shoulder. His face is solemn. His hat is in his hands. He lowers his eyes. The passing. The crew exchange bleak, wordless looks. The Orphean itself feels suddenly more empty. The station master looked confused. You inform him that unfortunately Captain Whitlock has just passed. Ah, he says neutrally. Sorry to hear that. Very sad, very sad. He waits for what he considers an appropriate minute and a half before continuing. Alas, even amidst tragedy, the cogs of bureaucracy must turn. If Captain Whitlock is deceased, the station authority requires their answers from the first officer. He dons a set of spectacles and locates his pin. It will be relatively painless. Name, background, purpose of visit, etc. Shall we begin? Begin. Alright. So, here's where you create your character. It's not too long into the actual gameplay. Sure, it took me 22 minutes to get here, but normally it'll only take you a minute. So, let's get into this. I had mentioned that I wanted to probably focus on iron with maybe a secondary skill in mirrors or veils. So let's get into this. You get a number of choices. They determine various things. Street urchin, soldier, poet, an academic, a priest, a sailor, ministry auditor, and a revolutionary, all with various flavor texts that go along with them, and also a notice of whether or not they will give you a, an increase in irons, mirrors, veils, or hearts. So, I'm probably going to pick a sailor, because I did play Sunless Sea, so it kind of makes sense. So let's go ahead and pick a sailor, and when I played earlier, I put it on you bought and you sold, so that way it would increase my mirrors, but this time I think I'm going to say I smuggled. Yeah. Her Majesty's Navy Army had a great many opinions on what should and shouldn't be sold in her territories. Your own opinions were rather different. And it will increase our veils, the skill of deceiving and evading, and affiliates you with villainy. And then you always have to pick your ambition. The space is basically your choice of, well, how you want to win the game. There's various conditions. You've got wealth, fame, and the truth. Wealth, you want a comfortable retirement, and by comfortable you mean extravagant. Many have made their fortunes out among the stars. Many more have failed, broken, and lost in the drifting night. Will you be different? There's fame. You will immortalize your exploits in the song of the sky. For centuries, people have launched themselves into the unknown in the hope of making a name for themselves. You're sure you'll succeed. After all, you never heard of anyone who didn't. I love that line. It's such a good line. The truth. Even the stars have secrets, but they won't keep them from you. A message from an old friend begins an unwise quest to learn a secret that the stars hide. What drives you? Curiosity? Justice? Insolence? Whatever it is, it will be tested. And then it gives you a little warning. Be warned, this is a demanding ambition best played by a lineage that has already completed wealth or fame. So we're going to pick wealth or fame first off. I think I'm going to go for fame. Gather stories of your exploits and write about them in New Winchester. If this is anything like Sunless Sea, that involves requiring doing things for people and stuff and gathering diary entries and then accumulating them all in a diary type thing. So we shall see. There's going to be a lot of talk of Sunless Sea because obviously that's the one comparison that you can really make. What kind of hat do we want? I really like this whole silhouette that you can make for your character. Do we want a top hat? Do we want like a derby cap? I think I'll go with the regular old captain looking hat as far as hair is concerned. Let's see. What's the best longer hair that we can do? Sure, why not? We'll pick 10. I've got long hair personally, so that's why I picked that. Ooh, we can get a monocle. Let's do the monocle. That'll be fun. This doesn't really matter much, mostly just because when you notice how I say when our captain dies, we end up getting a new one anyway. So whatever, we'll just pick that chin. And what kind of an outfit do we want here? I do like the little military outfit, but kind of like this one too, the big old collar. Let's do that. Our term of address. This will determine what people call your captain, but your captain's gender is up to you. Very inclusive, very inclusive. Captain Whipple? No. My lord. Specialist, doctor, professor, officer, archivist, principal, administrator, secretary, intendant, nurse, comrade, brother. Brother! I think I'm going to go with just a generic old captain. We're not going to be Captain Whipple. We're going to be Zanzibar. Yes. Captain Zanzibar. Very lovely. So, as you can see, we're our starting stats, bottom right-hand corner. We've got a 25 in irons, 10 in hearts, 10 in mirrors, and 17 in veil. So that will be interesting. I were a Z captain. You remember bats winging across the still black sky, the distant lights of London calling you home, salty prayers offered to heedless gods. It was a hard life and often a short one, but you made your mark. I was known for smuggling. Yay. Alright, let's go ahead and start this up. The reading of the will. 3 weeks have passed. This morning Captain Whitlock received a simple memorial service. Her body was consigned to a necropolis train bound for the serene mausoleum. Now you sit, with a handful of her relatives, in the threadbare offices of her solicitors. A methodical notary is reading the will. The captain was wealthy once, but squandered her capital on mysterious expenses before her expedition to the Blue Kingdom. Listen to the end. The captain's relatives, from whom she was mostly estranged, are clearly wondering why you are here. True to her word. In a final codicil, the notary announces, Captain Whitlock confirmed that possessions of the Orphean was to pass to its first officer. He peers at you with dry gray eyes. This includes a certain black box contained in the Orphean's hold. Captain Whitlock's final request was that at a time of your choosing, you transport said box to an address in London. He hands you an address card, and deposit it there. You are not to look inside. She gave no explanation. And that's it. You're captain now. The Orphean is yours. Captain Whitlock's legacy. You investigate the black box at New Winchester. We could take it to London as requested, or we could sell it and be done. You have been bequeathed a large black box which once belonged to Captain Whitlock, and we also gained 100 sovereigns. Onwards! Okay, so here we are at the station. clamoring central station of New Winchester, a place of steam and smut and thundering iron. Here you can find people willing to pay for a skilled captain's service. Okay, so we got a number of options here. Follow your ambition, repair, hire on crew. We should repair, or rather we should hire on crew. I think our working number of crew is 6, so we're like right there. Okay. Your voyages have grown perilous of late. Numbers and morale are lower than they were. Today, New Winchester is abuzz with rumor. A famous tackety captain has turned tail and fled back to London, promised a generous pension and a full pardon in exchange for selling secrets. His crew are at a loose end, and under a cloud of suspicion. Will they ever find work again? Hire some of the turncoat's crew as replacements. No one will have them. For the cost of a round at the promise of days, they're yours, and they will be mine. A fresh start. Initially, the crew members are suspicious. They think you might be a journalist for the Gazette. Still, they're happy to drink on your coin, and as the night progresses, their reserve vanishes. When they arrive at your engine the next day to sign their papers, they come with headaches and nausea and the last of their things. They go to their berths, ready to make for the stars again. Okay, so now we are at 10 out of 10 crew again. We want to try and keep that as high as possible, but the higher your crew amount, the more supplies you use, I believe. So you do have to be careful. So let's go ahead and, I guess, explore the city. Actually, no, let's do this follow your ambition thing. The song of the sky looms in your mind, an unfinished monument. Where to begin? You take advantage of a quiet moment to pull out your journal. The blank page sits before you, smug and unblemished. The horror. At last, inspiration strikes. You need fresh material. That's the ticket. Go out and explore the high wilderness, gather sky stories and tales of terror to begin the song of the sky. Okay, so we've got to get tales of terror and sky stories to begin the song of terror, or song of the sky, not song of terror. Let's not have a song of terror, please. So yeah, those are actual items that you find in the world. It's not just being metaphoric. So let's explore the city a bit. Learn about trading, promise days. We don't really need to learn about trading. I already kind of know about that, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's see. We could recruit the incautious driver. That might be a good thing to do, and some people might recommend that. I don't know. I haven't really looked much up on this game, but I don't know. Let's see. An opportunity. The fastidious inspector. Excuse me, Captain. A woman pushes through the crowds towards you. She is short and square-shouldered, in a neat black suit and polished shoes. She shows you the case of her pocket watch. It is embossed with the crown and hourglass of London's horological office, the body responsible for ensuring time is consistent across the empire. I'm hoping to book passage to Port Prosper, she says, slipping the watch away. I can, of course, pay. Pay? Sounds promising. A new passenger. Thank you. The locomotive I was on broke down following a boiler rupture. The chief engineer's fault, I suspect. A gentleman found her a brandy rather than diligence. Here, an initial sum to seal our bargain. Prosper lies to the south-southeast of New Winchester. Note that there is such a thing, or not that there is such a thing as north, south, east, or indeed west out here. Instead, London cartographers picked 4 of the brighter, more reliable stars visible from the Empress's new palace and named them north, east, south, and west. Londoners value familiarity. The fastidious inspector. You are transporting a fastidious inspector to Port Prosper. You gain 50 sovereigns. The fastidious inspector has joined your engine. So we gotta go south-southeast of New Winchester. I'll try and figure out where that is on the map as we go along. But if you hit triangle, you can go from stories to shops and whatnot. Right now we are going to pay a visit to the bazaar. Locomotive captains gather at the bazaar to trade goods and information. Here, you can acquire prospects, opportunities to sell a good at a distant port for an excellent price. Accept a prospect to claim it, source the goods, and deliver them. Seeds for Magdalens. Magdalens provides comfort and sympathy to the weary traveler. Its hosts will tell you any lie you need to hear. Some of those lies require flowers. The imitable host wants up to 3 sacks of verdant seeds and will pay 80 sovereigns for each. Magdalen lies to the southeast of New Winchester. Select this prospect to claim it. And hours for the Leadbeater and Stainrod Nature Reserve. Captain required to supply up to 5 barrels of hours to the Leadbeater and Stainrod Nature Reserve. Please report to the capabilities cabins on arrival. Discretion prioritized. LNS Nature Reserve lies to the east-northeast of New Winchester. So we'll go ahead and take both of these. Verdant seeds can be reliably purchased at Hybris or Leadbeater and Stainrod Nature Reserve. How about that? Claimed hours can be reliably purchased at Port Prosper and Lustrum and mined from skyrocks in the Reach. Well, we are eventually going to Port Prosper, so that's good. Alright, let's go ahead and undock here. And we'll take a look at our little deal here. Yep, that is a map that has not been uncovered. But anyway, as far as this episode is concerned, if you liked it and would like to see more, please let me know. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye, and take care, delicious travelers.